Welcome back, everyone. This is the fourth episode of Point Blank. I'm your host, Dryden Joss, and this is the show where we bring you biblical worldview, hopefully educational and purposeful in the sense that you will be able to learn what the Bible is saying because sometimes it can seem kind of complicated. So I'm your host again, Dryden Joss. Today, my guest seat here. This is Handel,
Right.
and I know him from when I lived back in Atlanta. And he came to me with this topic today. He wanted to talk about this. This was his idea. Um, I'll let you explain. What was the idea that you wanted to talk about specifically?
I want to make the case that all anime is bad.
Okay.
Which is, I know that's like immediately going to set people off. They're like, what?
Yeah, he wants
Or
to
they'll
make
just
the
be like, what?
case that anime
Yeah.
is bad, which is funny because I love anime. So I will defend it as a Christian, and I think this should get interesting. Um, but I think we should start with just the definition of anime. Some people won't know because I do have some boomers who are watching and they don't know. But basically, anime is hand drawn and computer animation originating from Japan. In Japan and in Japanese, anime describes all animated works, regardless of style or origin. However, outside of Japan and in English, anime is for Japanese animation and refers specifically to animation produced in Japan. Anime is also an art form or a style, and we'll get onto that a little bit later. So that's kind of what anime is. It's Japanese animation, just so you know.
Yeah. And then didn't it like get big kind of like in the 70s or 80s, like with like Dragon Ball Z and like
It was
stuff like
like
that?
Dragon Ball, Astro Boy,
Uh-huh.
Voltron. I think there's a few other different
Like the
animes.
Gundam robots
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
Gundam um,
Yeah.
made it all popular.
So I guess to clarify, like, first, I don't watch anime. So that shouldn't discredit my opinion though that much. Here's why. I'm going to bring up my logical reasons why anime is designed to make men fail and why it's bad in general, um, without
Okay.
having to have watched it.
Okay. I think the opposite, but let's go.
Okay. Um, okay, so let's start with the broad topic of like, is all entertainment bad?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to answer no. And I think we
Mm-hmm.
can agree. No, not all entertainment is bad. I think guys that get into that mode where they're like machismo, like all entertainment's bad. You can only build log cabins. Like, that doesn't really hold up,
Yeah.
especially in this day and age where everything is so digital. Yeah, actually, entertainment can be used for a variety of good things, right? They
Mm-hmm.
can be used for, I'm going to bring up some positive examples. Entertainment can be used to calm the mind. I would say, like a stressful day or a long work day, we literally put our minds to work. We put them like under stress for
Mm-hmm.
8, 10 hours of the day. When you get home and when you're like ready to unwind, you kind of want something that'll just kind of like turn your brain on autopilot. So like,
Yeah.
a TV show, a movie, a video game, something that's gonna like calm your mind down, I think can be productive and actually healthy. I don't think men should be in this like work, 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 like all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, but it also makes him a stressed out like individual.
Yeah.
You when you get home, you're gonna have all these responsibilities as a father that are gonna add to that. So I'm pretty sure, like, yes, your time for entertainment is gonna shrink and shrink as you mature, as you grow, as you get married. But not only all entertainment is bad. I know married men, pastors that love to watch movies with their
Mm-hmm.
family, with their friends. They like TV shows. Even older guy might play a video game with his friends. So yeah, it's not all bad. So we can agree on that.
Yeah, I would
I think
agree. I don't think entertainment's a huge issue. I think it's an issue if it becomes an idol. Like I know a lot of people who get stuck in the endless loop of just constantly watching movies, TV shows, binging, and they're only consuming. They're not really ever producing. So I think
right.
that's where it's a problem. But I do
Yes.
agree with you that a little bit of entertainment throughout your day is okay. It helps you not be stressed out. You're not
Mhm.
as it helps you uh,
Would you
stop.
agree that like entertainment that promotes ideas relating to reality or themes and like emotions that can be resonated in reality, do you think that's valuable?
Oh yeah,
rather
I
than
mean, entertainment. At least when it comes to movies, since we both are movie guys. I mean, I know that you worked for a film company, and then I've also worked for film production companies, and it is a art form. So, in the sense that we're creating something that helps people feel some sort of emotion, we're helping people kind of express those emotions, and I think that's definitely a good thing. I think film definitely is a art form. Um,
right.
so
So, but I think it's valuable because it helps you relate to the real world, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
yes, it's an escape, but it's also an idealistic escape that can present emotions that are common to man and like
Hmm.
deep themes and like biblical themes of like, self-sacrifice, fatherhood, motherhood,
Hmm.
like chasing the girl, like chivalry, like all this stuff. So
Yeah,
like
like think about
entertainment
how
can be
often you've been inspired by film. I mean,
right.
sometimes it's inspiring. Like you watch an inspiring movie, and you're like, "Wow, I want to take on the world right now."
Right. Exactly. So again, we can agree on that. Not
Yeah,
all entertainment is bad. But here's another question. Does entertainment have negative effects on our culture today?
absolutely.
Yeah, and why do you think that is?
This is something I was going to talk about, but a lot of entertainment can be very negative. Let me pull up this verse right
Well,
here.
I have verses I want to get to at the end as well, but do you think it can promote an indulgence and it also promote like childlike behavior with entertainment, like TikTok, whatever, Instagram, YouTube, all of it can promote like a self-indulgence and a childlike, just look at me, I'm cool, sort of like mindless, like base emotions. I think there's like a very broad spectrum of what entertainment consists of, and you can have great entertainment, you can have garbage entertainment, but all of it has an effect on the culture. And what we see today is a youth and a culture that's like oversaturated with entertainment. We are like
Well, I
pretty
think we're
much
oversaturated because there's just too many people, and everyone has an idea and says, "I'm going to film that," and then post it, and then suddenly we're completely saturated in so many different videos and movies, and so it's usually the stupid stuff that really stands out. Um, and especially
exactly.
since uh, the root of all evil is the love of money, not money, but the love of money. And believe me, having worked in the Hollywood scene, that's all they
Yeah,
care about is money. So we get these general stories with these
yeah,
general characters, and we get each every character. We get the straight character, the gay character, we get one of each for diversity because we're trying to hit as many people as we possibly can, and then we just get these stupid stories, and I think it's had very negative impacts. This is a lot of the reason why I don't like Disney.
right,
Specifically Disney is because in their TV shows they always have the power mom and the
yeah,
stupid fat dad.
yeah.
So we've destroyed
We're
masculinity
dead.
from coming from a Hollywood perspective. We destroyed masculinity. We don't know what it
Yeah,
looks like anymore. Now to be gay is the new masculine man, which is just stupid. And then now we have power moms and power women who are somehow able to be full-time moms and have a full-time career as a CEO in movies. And it's like this doesn't make any sense. And then
well,
we're
yeah.
turning women into men, and then men are just turned into women. Um,
We see that. That's like literally pervasive throughout
mhm.
entertainment today. It didn't start out like that, I would say. I mean, it's
No,
arguable how
yeah,
it
it
started.
didn't start out like that. I actually watched a movie that was made in like probably the 60s, and there was a funny line in it where he said this was just like a comedy movie, nothing crazy political.
Yeah.
But he said something along the lines of like, I might be stupid, but I'm not a liberal. And it was just like, whoa, like we don't hear
That's
anything
funny.
like that these days.
Right.
But yeah,
That's
I get
good.
your point. Like, entertainment can be really bad. I think it's especially bad the binge culture that we've invented, where we're
Mhm.
just wasting time. And
Well, yeah, it
yeah,
promotes that.
I've made
Essentially, it promotes
videos on
that. There's
this.
nothing that curbs that.
Hmm.
Um, like where are the movies like Little House on the Prairie? Like
Yeah,
where's like all these movies that used to exist, westerns and things that promoted like masculine ideals or like
hmm.
godly femininity or like just godly themes, like self-sacrifice, even like animations like Finding Nemo. It was such a hit. It was a dark story. It's like a
Yeah,
father going to save his child from being like kidnapped essentially. And then when they rebooted it in the Dory thing, it just fell flat because it was like, yeah, it's like a middle-aged woman trying
yeah,
to do something
exactly.
for herself. Like we kind of just lost
And
It
without
does
just
pretty cleverly.
rushing the point of this episode, it's funny you
Yeah.
bring that up. That's one of the reasons why I like anime. Is because they are
Oh.
still very old fashioned over in Japan. So men are men, women are women, and they don't like gays. It's just it's all
Okay.
over. It's all over anime. So that's something we'll talk about. Uh
Okay. I'll
definitely.
give that credit. I'll definitely give that credit. All right.
Yeah.
I want to move on then because we can agree these things.
Yeah, let's move
Anime
on.
or entertainment is not all bad, right? And it
Mhm.
does have negative effects on culture, but it can have some positive themes and valuable things from it too.
Yeah.
So here's the question: is all anime bad?
No, of course not.
I'm gonna argue yes.
How
And
can
this
you
is
argue yes?
yeah. Well, let's start with no. Let's start with no, because most people are gonna be like on your side, be like,
Okay.
oh, not all anime
Not
is
all
bad.
anime is bad because anime is an art style. So even if you don't like how it's drawn, some people do. Just like I don't like how Big Mouth is drawn. I think it looks retarded, but some
Yeah.
people like it. Just like some people might not like Disney, they say it looks weird. But that's what
Mhm.
a cartoon is. It's an expression and that helps animate people. So in
Yes.
anime, a lot of the things that people don't like about it is the same thing that people love about it, being that
Okay.
the animations of the expressions are way over the top. So when someone in anime is sad, they're really sad. There'll be like water exploding out of their eyes. If someone's really happy, they're really happy. And that's really fun, and obviously it's an expression. But yeah, of course not all anime is bad. Some of it is G-rated, some of it has really good normal stories. um Similar to just old-fashioned stories of like the knight saving the princess. That's kind of a
Right.
classic story, and there's a lot of animes like that. um and what I want to say is, uh some of it can be very bad and
Yeah.
borderline pornography, but can't the same thing be argued with Game of Thrones?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. No,
that's
all,
that's
like we
that's
go
live
back to all
action.
entertainment.
Yeah, that's
Right.
live action, and that's basically pornography. And the same with so
Yeah.
many other shows. And so it's the same thing where it's like, as long as I'm on Parents Guide, make sure the show is appropriate. I'm gonna watch it if I feel like watching it. But I don't think that it being anime changes that. I don't think all anime is bad. And I
I
don't know
do.
how you're gonna justify this.
I do. Okay, here's my first and strongest reason. And I
Yeah.
have five reasons. This is my first and strongest. Anime always promotes a youthful slash unrealistic image of a woman.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
so doesn't like Instagram doesn't. I mean, Photoshop doesn't.
Well, hey, yeah, people are getting into that there.
What
But what I'm
about American animation? Like, have you seen Tangled? The princess
yeah,
looks way too young, or like Moana, they
sure.
all look young. So it's like any other cartoon.
Yeah, okay, true. But those cartoons also have like a target audience where they're trying to reach those kids. And obviously, you as a man wouldn't be like, yeah, I love Tangled or I love Frozen. You know, it's like that. There's a cringe to that. You know why there's a cringe is because it
Because it's
demeans
for
your,
children.
yeah, it's designed for children, it demeans your masculinity. But I want to get back to that first point is anime itself always promotes a youthful or unrealistic image of a girl, of a woman. Um, and it's actually in the design. Okay. So every anime, why are their eyes so big? It's like totally unnatural, right? It's an exaggeration of the eyes, which are
Hmm.
like the window to the soul. It's always to convey like this innocence or like this youthful, like, oh, I'm just discovering everything,
Like doe
like
eyes.
yeah, like a baby or like a child, their eyes get big when they discover something. So that big eye, theme is basically conveys innocence and youth. It really does.
Hmm.
Um, why is the nose non-existent? I mean, it's pretty much not there. It's like a little notch, and then from the side, it'll
Well,
be
I mean,
something.
you haven't
So
watched any animes, and I think you addressed that earlier that you haven't seen any animes, and people do have noses in anime. Obviously, if
okay,
they're straight on, it's not as prominent, but that's just the artistic choice.
okay, okay, got you. But minimizing the nose promotes an unrealistic image, so it
Hmm.
focuses more on the other beautiful parts of the face, and it also rejects the created order. I mean, God created a nose; He created the human face, but anime is exaggerating just the eyes, not the nose, and even not the mouth, but sometimes the mouth. Like if they talk, their mouth gets huge, but if it's closed, it's like a line. So all of that to me promotes this youthful, idealistic, like fairy, like fantasy girl look. And to
Well,
me, I'm like, that doesn't
what about the
exist.
men in the show? Every man
Again,
in the anime, they're all shredded and built. Like they're huge, they're jacked, and that's not really realistic. So,
no, I agree. So that's actually bad. So the reason, let's get to why it's bad biblically.
okay.
Can we turn together to First John 2:15?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to that. Let's see, First
This
John 2.
podcast is brought to you by the Physical Bible Gang. Make sure you read your physical Bible today.
All right, so First John 2:15.
Yeah.
Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that does the will of God abides forever.
Yeah.
So those three verses, to me, what anime promotes is the lust of the eyes. Essentially, your eyes enjoy looking at anime because it's designed to make you like, I'm pretty sure it like triggers dopamine receptors. But when you look at like an anime girl, you're like, wow, she looks pretty, she looks beautiful, she looks cute, whatever. There's no ugly people in anime. I mean,
And
I
there's
haven't
a lot
watched
of
all of it,
ugly anime
so
people,
I don't
but
know that you gotta, but see, and I think that goes against the grain of anime, like by its design. But the lust of the eyes quickly leads to the lust of the flesh. So it's
yeah.
like you see this lust of the eyes, and you're only engaging in the lust of the eyes. You're like, yeah, okay, she looks beautiful, but I'm not gonna let that get my heart. Well, now you're getting involved in her storyline and everything, and then the whole story revolves around this young girl, and then you're just like, man, I want that sexual fantasy. I want a young girl in my life, or I want a woman. It basically saps the masculine urge to go out, find a woman, because you found this fantasy girl that's like the idealistic, perfect picture of basically a youthful girl that you can protect and shelter and have in
And
a
she
relationship.
loves you eternally with no
Yeah,
issues ever, and yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I
there's
see what you're
obviously,
going for. I understand. But at the same time, this happens with every movie ever, even live action. We get the
well,
most beautiful women to play
right,
the most bestest roles for them, and then we Photoshop them in post every
yeah.
frame and to make them look thinner, skinnier, curvier, however you want them to look. And is it not the same thing?
It can be, and so I don't like that about movies and entertainment. I think movies that actually have realistic actors and characters tend to do really well. But no, I see your point, and yes, there's a certain level of like marketing you have to achieve. Like you can't, not everyone, people don't like to look at ugly people. So
Yeah,
if you
that's
make a
true.
movie about an ugly person, you have to really skirt around that and focus more on other areas. Whereas if you just put a pretty person on camera, boom, you've got your product sold, you've got your business sold, you've got your movie like
Yeah.
sold, because people are like, oh, I'll watch a pretty person. That like that feeds my fantasy, that feeds my lust of the eyes, and that gives me this idea of that's what I could be someday, or that's the type of woman I should go for, right? So it feeds that lust of the eyes and the pride of life. That's from the world. We have to understand God does not prioritize those things. God says the ornament of the soul, the quiet and gentle soul, is like of great price and value in the eyes of God. He says beauty is vain, okay? It's deceitful and it's fading away. He says all flesh is
And
like
see, I
grass.
agree with you. I
Yeah,
agree with you that we've put so much emphasis on beauty that now we have little girls, especially since social
yeah.
media existed, they're committing suicide more often. You can actually
Wow,
look at that. Like in
wow.
2013, when the iPhone was made for everyone, like anyone could have an iPhone, and Instagram started coming out. You can look at the suicide statistics spike for girls, like
Yeah,
go from like minimal to just crazy amounts, and it's because they're comparing themselves to other beautiful women who
yeah,
are photoshopped, have
yeah.
filters on, have
Mhm,
money, take Botox, lip filler, and all this
yeah.
sort of thing. So I understand where you're coming from, but it's almost like your issue's not just with anime specifically, it's almost with all lustful culture in
Well,
general.
yeah, as Christian men, we have that filter on our life where we're not loving the world. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially, I hate the world.
Yeah.
In the way the what the things the world pushes are not valuable to me. So whether that's the pride of life or the lust of the eyes or the lust of the flesh. I don't care about any of that. I want holiness. I want godliness. I
Mm-hmm.
want things that Jesus counts valuable, humility, um, sacrifice, right? Like things that Jesus talked about. That's what I care about. But I'm not going to impose that standard on every human. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we should obviously witness to everyone, get people to become Christian. But I'm not going to say if you're non-Christian, if you're watching any entertainment or any anime, that's a sin. I
Yeah.
can't say that. I can't say that. That especially because of Christian liberty, right? Paul talks about all things being permissible for me, but not all things edifying. So
Yeah, I actually had
being a
that
Christian,
verse. It's 1 Corinthians 10:23 says all things are lawful, but not all things
right,
are helpful. All things are
right,
lawful, but not all things build up. Which
yeah,
um which I wanted to
I think
say
that,
is like
yeah,
it's true for me as well as I grow further in my faith with Christ. It's like I find myself spending a lot less time playing video games, watching
yeah,
movies, watching TV.
correct,
So even for me who's defending anime in this
yeah,
episode when it comes down
yeah,
to it, I watch maybe 1 or 2 episodes a week.
yeah,
Like that's what I'm down to. I just don't have time to do that
right,
because I'm a man and I've got
hmm,
an online ministry that I'm trying to start and support and get funding for. So it's like I have things to do. I have bigger
right,
things to care about. Um,
absolutely,
which speaking about support, please follow me on Patreon. Please become a patron today. You can. There's going to be a link in bio for Patreon. You can help support this growing ministry because I'm broke and I need help. Amen. But yeah,
yeah.
what was your second point? I'm interested
Okay.
to move
Well,
on.
here's another verse. Let's go together to
Yeah.
Job 31:1.
Oh,
Okay.
I already
So this
know. Yeah.
specifically applies to men, right?
Yes.
Job, in the thralls of his despair, essentially starts reasoning with God and saying, like, look, I'm not that bad of a person. I didn't lust after woman. Like
Hmm.
that wasn't my issue. He's saying, if that was my issue, destroy me. But he's saying that was not my issue.
What
And
verse is that?
obviously Job 31:1. And this is what the verse says. It says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? So a
Hmm.
maid in the Bible is a young woman. Is
Well, it
actually
says
like
here, it says virgin. I've made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze at a virgin?
gaze on a virgin.
Yeah,
I think that's ESV, right?
that's ESV.
I'm using KJV.
Hmm.
I like KJV because it says think upon a maid, and that's even more broad. It's like, why should I think about a young woman? It doesn't build me up to think about a young woman
Yeah.
as a young man. Obviously, all that's doing is promoting lust, or it's promoting fornication, because my thoughts should be geared toward productive things. I want to build a family for a young woman. I want to build a life. I want to like build businesses and edify and support young and help and helpless people. I want to
Hmm.
like support the widow and the orphan. Like, yeah, I want to get into helping and being involved with young women, men, uh, married couples. But why should I focus, or why should I think upon a young woman?
Yeah.
That's specific because Job is saying, if I do this, and later on in the verse, he's like, if I was doing this, God will reward me for my works. So God obviously doesn't like it when a guy is fantasizing over a girl. And if you're a father, yeah, you don't want any guys thinking about your daughter until she's like
Exactly.
ready. So you're like, I'm gonna freaking kill anybody that's like trying to get around my daughter.
I
But
actually
that's
agree with you on this point. Because we
so
know that Jesus says if your hand sins against you, chop it off. It's better to go to heaven with a hand
yeah,
missing than to hell with your whole body. And I agree. And this was actually a point I was going to make about specifically anime.
yeah,
And I think R rated, like PG-13 to R rated, can kind of get into it, especially with
yeah,
TV shows. Is sex in this culture is very popular because we live in a godless society where anything goes and sex is king.
yeah,
And there's a lot of animes that can get very sexual,
hmm,
and I would argue for a Christian we shouldn't be watching that. I don't think we
right.
should be watching that. There are animes that I think are G rated and okay to watch because they don't really have that sexual presence in the show.
Tell me
Um,
about it. I don't even know of any. So
I'm trying to think of a show. Like my favorite show is Naruto, and I would say it's
okay,
probably like
okay,
PG
here,
13. Um,
Naruto. You're bringing up
and
Naruto.
there are a lot of like pervy jokes in it, but it never gets insanely bad. But it even has me questioning, like, should I watch that show?
Dude,
If it leads
little
me to lust after. animated characters.
Usually.
But the thing is, I see what you're saying, and I agree with you, but I don't think it's for every show.
Okay. Well, what then your case means that there's like 5%, 10% that's good.
Yeah,
Like,
but isn't that like
okay, well,
with TV shows today anyway? I mean,
okay,
like think of a normal human show that's good, like
sure.
live action show. You know, let's think of a good show, one that's like really
It's
popular.
hard.
Breaking Bad.
It's hard.
Breaking Bad is a really good show, right? There's still sexual things in it.
Oh, it's yeah, it's
It's
got all
about
sorts of fun
drugs.
stuff.
There's tons of
Yeah.
cussing, and
No, right.
and
It's not
artistically, it's like a really good show, really good story. But it's like, should
uh
Christians be watching this? You know,
The
and
Chosen.
Chosen's really good. I really like
It's good.
Chosen.
So,
Um,
but Naruto, you mentioned Naruto, dude. Little Light Studios, I want to shout them out on YouTube.
okay.
They do great exposés on like modern culture and satanic themes found within music and media. I think they're
Mhm.
a great resource for young people. If you want to learn more about media, go to Little Light Studios. They did a whole episode on Naruto. They exposed the witchcraft, idolatry, and lust, fornication themes within that theme. And
Mhm.
then once I watched that, I was like, yeah, geez, this is like in the design. And it's like you should know a tree by its
So
fruit.
I here's what I would ask is it in the design? Like, is the
Yes.
writer of that show intentionally trying to do evil things with this show, or is he just someone who doesn't know Jesus, just a normal sinner like everyone else, and is just making what he thinks is good?
I would say yes, it's in the design, but we can
Because
get quickly into the
I can't agree with that. I don't
we
know
can
too
get
many
quickly
people
into the
that are
conspiracy
actively
world.
trying to make. There's no one who's scheming like, oh right, I'm gonna make something with witchcraft in it, and I'm gonna get everyone to
No.
support
Oh,
witchcraft.
hey. I will say there are, but
Okay.
we're not going to get into that. That's a whole nother conversation about like conspiracies and essentially the big players, the Illuminati, whoever controls the media,
Hmm.
the Jews. But I want to
Yeah, the
show you
Jews.
I want to show you my main focus on the design aspect. So I'm going to
Okay,
share
are
my
you gonna
screen.
share your screen?
Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
share my screen here.
All right, here we go.
Um, this is what basically where I'm drawing the strength of my case is in the design. Here's just a simple meme that points out what everyone knows is that,
Okay.
boys in real life don't look like boys in anime. You know, it basically just is making fun of anime is not realistic. Look at this, and that's the Naruto people. Um,
I don't think anime was ever to be realistic, but yes.
okay, so here's another version of like animation in general.
Okay, so
Um,
for people who are listening, we're looking at an image of Elsa from Frozen in
yeah,
the movie, and then next to her, someone photoshopped her to look more realistic, like a more human person.
right. Right. So we can see, I think, the clear skew towards youth and like beauty on the left, whereas the right seems more realistic while still beautiful is definitely different. You don't have these massive eyes. Okay, so
But
let's
it's
just move
still
on
very
from there.
youthful. I mean, she still
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
young.
sure. No, yeah, it is. Okay, so here's
Okay,
the
so
manga
the
face,
yeah,
right?
the manga face. Let's go.
It's always focused on these
The
massive
eyes.
puppy dog eyes that are just like baby like huge.
Do you
No
know? Okay,
nose.
just wondering. I'm also an artist. I draw. I paint. Do you know
Yeah.
artistically why eyes are the biggest deal
No, I
in
don't.
anything? That's where
No.
the emotion lies.
Yeah. Right.
So even when in live action movies, when we have close ups, the focus is on the eyes. What are the eyes looking at? So that's why eyes are such a big deal. I
Sure.
don't think every anime character is made to look as youthful as possible. There are a lot of old people in animes. There's a lot of people who look their age, definitely. And then kids, if you look at a child, they actually do just have massive eyes.
Yeah.
So
No, okay, I'll hear you out on that the eyes serve some sort of emotional appeal. But I would say the design of having these childlike eyes always promotes this youth and unrealistic appeal of woman. And here's how unrealistic it looks on a real woman. Like
yeah.
that looks terrible. That is like not what God created. That is awful.
Well, when you make
Um,
it look freaky like this, but when it's a drawing, your brain
that's the
goes,
proportions, though.
okay, look,
That's
it's
what
the
the proportions
proportions,
are.
but there's this thing in animation and drawing where there's things that look too realistic, but almost not realistic enough, and then our brain goes, that's creepy, because we
Yeah,
know like it's supposed to look as real as possible, but it's missing it. But when
yeah.
you look at a cartoon, your mind immediately goes, yeah, that's not supposed to look normal, which is why I can handle how it looks not normal.
Sure, I totally agree with you there. And anime does distinguish between the real life and the fantasy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the fantasy that anime promotes is only detrimental.
I
Um,
do want to talk about fantasy as part of this episode as well.
Look how creepy this is. The Alita Battle Angel thing.
I always thought this was creepy.
Well, it's creepy. Like that
I
was a
I always
general
thought she was
reaction.
creepy.
They're blending the like anime with the real life, and
Yeah.
they made this live action sort of anime girl that just murders people and is really good at killing. Like
Yeah.
the whole thing was creepy, and people got that. But yeah, I want to look at this. Look at these masculine guys, right? I just typed in the words Chad and Beard.
Yeah. What about
um,
them? What do you want to show about these guys with the beards?
which one of these guys watches anime?
Um
which
Definitely all of them. And this was going to be a point I was going to make later on in the episode about one of the benefits of
Come
anime.
on, come
I'm
on.
not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. So many like gym bros, like guys in the gym who want to better themselves and work out is because they watched things like Naruto and Dragon Ball and saw all the
Wow.
animated guys that were strong and they were like, I want a piece of that. Like I want to be like that. It's funny. It's kind of like a
That's
meme.
detrimental,
It's
though.
it's
I
a
mean,
it's
that's not even what I'm pointing out here. But no, that's a good point because that's the negative effect it has. It's like I
the
want that.
negative effect is that it's making
Yeah.
people want to work out and be physically fit.
Yeah. Well, no, they're idolicizing
Oh,
that like
they're
perfect male body that
okay.
they're never going to achieve it. Same thing with women. Look at the streamers and the Twitch people and the TikTokers who try to make themselves look as young as possible and look as anime as
Yeah, and
possible.
it's always cringe.
It's
It
cringe,
is
right?
cringe.
It's
But
the
but at the
we
same
know that's
thing, it's
cringe.
like this is kind of a meme online. I see it every once in a while. It's like when girls watch anime, they're like, "Ah, that's so unrealistic. Like that would never happen. Like a woman can
Yeah.
never look like that." But men, when they see anime or like any kind of strong guy, they're like, I will devote my life to becoming strong and physically fit.
That's
um,
funny.
and so
No, I mean,
I agree. Like you can idolize your body, but I made a whole episode about this on last week about how we're supposed to be healthy. That doesn't
yeah.
necessarily mean fit, but at least healthy. Um,
No, dude, go to the gym. I love it.
and I
I
think if people are watching anime and they go, "Oh shoot, that guy," even though he's a drawing, looks shredded, I want to be like that. 'Cause you know why? This has happened to me. I watched the anime. There was a guy who was shredded, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I need to get on it." And I started doing push-ups immediately.
yeah. Okay, well, I'll let that rest. I'll let you have that is that the emotional appeal that the anime has actually works and actually
Yeah.
can be productive.
I
There's a lot
think
of other reasons to work out, but
I another verse I wanted to bring up just about idolizing and lustfully. Is that the last image?
yeah, we can
Okay,
stop
we can
this.
go back.
Yep.
Is Matthew 6:22 is the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye
Right.
is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light is in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? And basically what this is saying is what your eyes are looking at, what you are looking at is where you are going. So for someone who's always looking at lustful images or like pretty girls or whatever. And this is where a thing where it's like not only anime girls are pretty. There's pretty girls everywhere in real life in
Mhm.
Disney and animations and in anime. And so if you're constantly lusting over women, I think you should stop watching pretty much everything until you can get past that point. Um uh, I heard this a long time ago is these two monks were walking and they came to a creek and a woman said, "Can you help me cross the creek?" And these were monks. They're not allowed to touch a woman. And one of the monks lifted her up and helped her cross the creek and they kept walking. Like he dropped her off. She went a separate way. They kept walking. And a couple miles down the road, the monk says to the monk who touched the woman, he said, "I can't believe you touched that woman." And the monk goes, "I set her down miles ago and you still carry her in your heart." Essentially meaning that some guys can look at a pretty girl and it doesn't phase them. They can maybe say like she's beautiful. And they're not going to lust over her for hours
Yep.
later.
Right.
But some guys will see her and just lust and
Yep.
think about her and think what could happen, what could be, what could happen. And that's
Mhm.
why we need to make sure the eye being the lamp of the body is in check, meaning I'm more focused on Christ. So that's where
Mhm.
I'm going to be headed.
Mhm.
But if I'm only watching anime, only watching Disney movies and TV and even if I just kind of watch the sex scenes, but not really, like kind of like watch
Yeah.
it like through your fingers, and you're basically tempting yourself, and
Yeah.
you're gonna make your struggle worse and so much harder
Hmm.
because you're constantly it's like the guy who's trying to quit smoking, but he still has a cigarette on him at all times. It's making it
Yeah.
tough. It's like, so if you really want to get over lustful desires, you got to get away from it completely. You got to
Yeah.
flee sexual desires.
I would say flee anime completely because anime promotes lust
I
in the
and the thing
animation.
is, I would agree with you in the sense that there's a lot of cute girls in anime, but I would think
Yeah.
it would go beyond that and be like, just leave TV shows because we're only picking the most beautiful actresses. We're only
Yeah.
picking the most beautiful. Um, all Disney has the most beautiful animated
Mhm.
girls, so
Princesses. Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
everywhere. So I agree with you on that.
Okay, well, if we can agree on that, I think I'm good with that. I'm not gonna, like my case of all anime is bad is not very strong. However, you get the point I'm trying to make. I'm making an appeal to emotion, and the emotion is that,
Yeah,
stay away. I'm warning guys, please stay away from this youthful, attractive persona of a woman because one, you can't expect women to be like that in real life. Women
no,
are
beauty fades.
ugly. Women aren't ugly, but they have the same ugly emotions that men have. They have the same struggles that men have in a lot of ways. It's like don't idolize a woman that she has to be like basically falling into your arms, a perfect basically like your child. That's not going
Yeah,
to happen. You're going to meet a woman hopefully that's mature enough to meet you on your level, and both of you can talk and relate to the things of God, and also just talk about your struggles and be normal. It's
yeah.
not going to be like all fantasy and fairy tales.
And that's my issue with fantasy in general is
Hmm.
that like this for example, I watched the newest Spider-Man last week. Okay,
Yeah, I did too. Great
I
idea.
love Spider-Man. I watched it.
Yeah.
Every time I watch a Spider-Man movie, because it is my favorite superhero,
Yeah.
I always have this sense of grief when I leave the theater because I'm like, why isn't real life that cool? Like, why don't I have superpowers? And I think that's a real issue.
That's bad.
And I have an elder at my previous church when I lived in Atlanta. He was telling me about how fantasy is dangerous because
Yeah.
fantasy is not real life.
Yeah.
And so when you're constantly playing video games, not that I have an
Yeah.
issue with video games, but if it's constant
Sure.
reading
Sure.
novels,
Yep.
imagining, even just from reading novels, watching movies, watching anime, watching
Yep.
anything really, is life will start to look very dull
Yeah.
compared
Yeah.
compared to fantasy, and it's because fantasy is perfect.
Yeah. Right.
Even though there's problems, the person always overcomes the problems. The
Yeah.
good guy always wins, and that's not the case in real life. Look at Jesus; he was
Right.
persecuted.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a
Dude,
danger with fantasy.
yeah, no, that was one of my points. So we actually already covered that, that it promotes fantasy or unrealistic ideals. That's my other detriment to anime. And the verse I'd like to go to is actually 2 Corinthians 10:5.
Okay.
We go there together. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and
Hmm.
bringing into captivity every thought into obedience of Christ. Um, I think that's really good to apply to this because, does the show you're watching exalt itself against the knowledge of God? And could a God exist in that world? I always look at shows like that. I'm like, is this a TV show that God does exist in,
Yeah.
or could create? And if it's not, like Marvel, dude, I'm not a huge fan of Marvel. I mean, sure, maybe it's good storytelling. It has archetypal themes that really resonate well. But dude, Marvel as a
I'm
worldview is kind of crap.
I'm not a huge fan of Marvel either.
It's kind of like
I
garbage.
really loved Marvel growing up. Like that was my
Yeah,
thing. Like I was kind of that Marvel nerd, would go to the comic
right.
book stores monthly, buy the new issues of comics. And I think what happened for me is I never despised it. I never grew to despise it, but I definitely grew out of it. And a lot of people
Yeah,
haven't. So if
right.
you watch Marvel, that's okay. I don't think it's a sin. It's like,
Yeah,
sure,
right, right, right.
I watched Spider-Man last week, no
Yeah,
issue.
me too. Yeah,
But I can't keep up. I can't go to every single movie. I can't
right,
watch every single show. Like I haven't watched any of the Disney Plus shows from Marvel. I haven't seen
right.
Shang-Chi. I haven't seen Eternals. I haven't seen Black Widow. It's like I just at a certain point I can't devote too much time to
Mhm.
fantasy and to um wasting time.
Totally agree with you. And let's go to the next verse that backs that up.
Yeah.
1 Corinthians 13:11,
Hmm.
right? And this verse kind of out of context because Paul is talking about the gifts of prophecy and like spiritual things. But he also, this is a broader theme you can apply, is that when I was a child, I spake as a child, I
Yeah.
understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So does that mean men should not play any video games, should not watch any TV? No, I disagree.
Yeah.
Because of the benefits we talked about earlier, but also because of Christian liberty, and also some of it has merit and value in storytelling,
Yeah.
and the emotions that it can bring out can actually bring you closer to God. You could have tears in your eyes after watching a movie and think about how God would have healed that situation, or how Jesus was crucified. So there's so many things that movies can do for you, but taking this in a broader perspective, like, okay, is it good for men to watch cartoons in general? Like, literally, can you back that up?
Is it good? Like, is it a positive? Not necessarily, but I don't think it's
Right.
necessarily a negative either. It's just kind of a
But
um
it's cringe. Can't you see how it's a little bit cringe? Can you see that? That's my appeal to
no,
look
no,
at
I don't think so. Because I
it.
mean, cartoons being an art style has some more mature, can have some more mature stories without entirely being just sexual, like negative, terrible issues. Like I watched this one anime about Vikings and it was dope. It was just guys fighting and it was like it was sick. And it's
Yeah,
like, did that help me in my walk with Christ? Not necessarily, but it also didn't
sure,
not help me.
sure.
Which is why I wanted to bring up this verse, which says
Okay.
Romans 14:23. Whoever has doubts is condemned if he eats, because he is eating not from faith. For whatever does not proceed from faith is sin. Um, and it's basically like whatever you think is a sin is going to be a sin. So for me watching like an anime, it's not like I don't think I'm actively sinning. If I watch something that's causing me to lust, yeah, I turn it off.
Yeah. Right.
I get out of there. But if I'm
Mhm.
just relaxing and watching a couple episodes of something that's just entertaining, like I don't necessarily think that's a sin. Obviously, there's things I could be doing that'd be
It's not a
more
sin.
worth my time,
Sure.
and that's where I
There's other
think
things.
the balance of
Yeah.
I used to be a boy. I used to only play video games, only watch TV,
Sure.
waste a
Yep.
lot of time. But now that I'm a man, it's like, okay, I'm trying to build a future.
Yeah.
This is a waste of time.
Yeah.
And so it might not be a sin, but it's definitely not great for you.
Sure. That was my point all along, and
Yeah.
I've never tried to argue it's a sin. But
This
I
is
would say,
listen to this verse, Psalm 101:3. Very
yeah.
interesting that this is King David saying, I will not set before my eyes anything that is worthless. I hate the work of those who fall away. It shall not cling to
Yeah.
me. A perverse
That's
heart
good.
shall be far from me. I will know nothing of evil.
Yeah.
So he's like saying, I don't even want to look at things that are worthwhile, like worthless.
Yeah.
Like I don't even want to look at it.
I love it. I hate the workers. I hate the workers of iniquity. I hate the
Yeah.
work of them that turn aside. I hate their work.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, like Marvel, essentially, I know it's made by godless people. They promote a godless worldview
Yeah.
that could not exist with God, and so I'm never in love with Marvel. I watch it because it's entertaining. I like Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
always that under. I'm never gonna walk away with that feeling fulfilled or feeling like somehow that edified my life. I
You
really
know,
don't.
I was a film major in college, and I don't even watch
Right?
movies because a lot of them are a
Me
waste of
too.
time. I
Same.
wanted to learn how to storytell and how to do the ins and outs of storytelling in movies, and
Yep.
I learned it, but I don't watch a lot of movies because I think they're pointless. There's too many movies
Same.
these days that have too many gay characters, have too many
Mhm.
women in power, and like just really unrealistic, like women in
Oh,
power.
they're always
Um,
pushing that. Yeah, it's the
yeah, and
same
then they
agenda.
always have stupid guys, and
Yeah.
it's just like this is not realistic.
There
This
are
isn't
some
worth my
gems in the
time.
rough. Have you seen Prisoners?
I haven't.
Okay, or Wind River? You seen them?
Um, no, I haven't. I don't watch
Oh, you.
movies.
Oh,
Like
okay. I'll send you
okay.
those later.
Here's a
But
popular movie, for example, Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt.
sure.
You know, it's funny because he gets dogged on every other week by Twitter because he goes to church and everyone's like, the church is homophobic, and it's like, well, yeah, it's the church. I mean, it's like that's to be expected. But I watched Tomorrow War, and there was too many women in charge, like literal captains of the
Yeah.
armies, and I was like, this
Yeah.
isn't realistic. Like there's no
No.
women in charge of armies. Like even if it's in the future and all the men are dead, there's still going to be a man who's in charge. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just how it's going to work.
Yeah.
And I'm just tired of watching movies like that where it's just like
Yeah.
I can't relate to this. I can't
No.
relate to this at all.
It's totally against the created order of man and actually biblical mandates of God saying
Yeah.
man, telling man to take dominion over the earth,
Hmm.
and marry to a woman, and you should be one flesh. No, it totally flips that on its head and puts the curses of man, puts them on a woman.
Yeah.
You could do a whole nother episode on that, but I want to end with that theme on anime because this is my last point, that
Okay.
anime does not promote a godly femininity. It promotes a fantasized version of femininity, like innocent, childlike. It's not godly. And I want to bring up Proverbs 31. Look at a Proverbs 31 woman. She
Hmm.
tends to her house. She's very intelligent. She, searches for land, buys a field. She's good in the marketplace. She, she loves the Lord. In anime, what is the main focus of all these women? It's almost always just like get the guy, or like, oh, come save me. I'm like this innocent fairy.
See, so this is funny because this is where I know you don't watch anime. Um, depending on the anime, depending
Yeah,
on the anime, not all of them, but some of them like Studio Ghibli, however you say
right.
that, Hayao Miyazaki,
Yeah,
very feminine characters. They're strong in the sense that they have strong arms, like Proverbs 31, but they're
yeah,
not stronger than the men. It's not unrealistic, and they're very good homemakers. There's a lot of animes where I brought this up earlier about how they're more traditional in the
yeah,
sense like they're not westernized yet. Is that there's a lot of animes where the couple, the main couple in the anime is very traditional. Like he's very protective and providing for her, and she's
yeah,
very supportive and
yeah.
lets him lead. And that's so refreshing to watch
Right.
in this day and age. And there are some
Yeah.
animes like just to give an actual example is Sword Art Online. The main couple in that, it's a very good relationship, and it's not cringe. It's just like this is what we want. Like it's nice. It's not all about sex. It's not all about how beautiful each of them
Yeah.
are. It's more about he likes her because she supports him, and she likes
Mhm.
him because he provides for her. It's just really cool.
Yeah.
And so it's like even though the Japanese people are kind of godless and
Yeah.
they still get it right sometimes when it comes to tradition.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Okay.
So
I guess
there
you
are
can
there are some. It's not all of them, but there
not
are
all.
some.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's an easy enough point that you can defeat my whole
And
thing.
just to make a sexist joke, in Howl's Moving Castle, the reason
Uh-huh.
Howl, the wizard, falls in love with the girl is because she cleans his entire house. So, just saying.
That's
She
funny.
she cleans the entire house and cooks a really good meal. So, that is in an
But
anime.
that's a whole nother episode, dude. You should do one on godly femininity. I think you
I've
already
done a
talked
few
about
videos on that before,
right.
but it's always a
No,
new topic.
so we can rest on that. I do, I want to warn people, if you're into anime and you have problems with lust, stay away.
Yeah.
And anime quickly leads down a road where people have perverted it. And actually, the name for perversion that we know is called like hentai, right? That's the word means perversion.
Hmm.
So, and that's the Japanese word for perversion. So, people have perverted that. There's a lot of degenerates who are actually spreading their filth, and they take pleasure in manipulating and spreading their filth around, and they approve of those who partake in the same things.
Hmm.
So I'd say stay away from those people, stay off those sites, stay off TikTok if the temptation, YouTube. Work on yourself, purify yourself, and then when you re-encounter those things, they won't be as tempting, but
Yeah.
also you'll know how to quickly dismantle them.
And that's
Focus on
part of the prayer in Matthew 6:13, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
right.
Meaning we shouldn't, if we're asking for God to not lead us into temptation, we should definitely not be leading ourselves into temptation. So if you have a history of getting turned on by cartoons or anime, which is a legit
There are,
thing that does
no,
happen.
there's animes that blend the female
Yeah.
proportions with a girl face,
And
so it's like
it
huge
gets
breasts.
it gets
And you're like,
really
what?
annoying because there's some people that are like, you get turned on by cartoons, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's kind
Because
of how some of it works. Is some of it like,
right, that's the whole purpose
I
of
mean,
a lot of it.
I didn't bring this up earlier, but it's like we can sexualize anything. Statues,
Yeah,
Greek statues were very
yeah, sure.
sexual.
Yeah. No, it's like there's no answer to mankind.
drawings, two-dimensional drawings, anything.
Sure.
And then something I
Just because
wanted
it's
to,
cultural doesn't give it a pass. Like
yeah.
Romans had freaking, terrible art on their walls in their culture.
Hmm.
They did Colosseums. That does not give them a pass. Same with Japanese. Yeah, the whole Japanese schoolgirl thing. That's sick, dude. I mean, schoolgirls, they're innocent, young, whatever. They're fun, but let them be girls. Like let them grow into a woman before you start to like fantasize about them and chase. Like it's sick to me. It really
Yeah.
is. It's gross.
And I know I'm on the anime defense side in this episode, but there are a lot of perverted Japanese animators. It's really
Hmm.
gross.
Yeah.
A lot of pedophiles as well, which
Because
we should not
actually
normalize
they
that.
blur the lines. They put female proportions on a child face, so it's totally against created order. It's like, yeah, a 12-year-old face does not have like huge breasts. That is freaking gross. But also, it messes with with the mind. It messes with men because men that see that, obviously men have this primal thing, so they're like, oh, boobs
I
attractive.
think the devil's very good at distorting things and turning
Yeah,
things evil. Like something I've seen recently is that the face app that lets you turn yourself into a girl,
yeah, yeah.
or like guys turn into girls and then girls turn into
Or
guys with the
girls
face
turn
app.
into anime.
What it kind of does is if like for example, I saw a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse and
Yeah,
someone had made him look into a girl and he was a really cute girl. And what this does is it plays games on your mind and you start
yeah.
going like, "Wait, he's actually cute as a boy." And then that's where you become gay. And that's a problem. That's a problem. It's because we're
It
blurring the
is.
lines between the sexes constantly, and then we're also blurring the line between proper age for sex. So we're blurring the
Yeah,
line between women and girls.
yeah.
And the Satan's idea is to
Same. Yeah,
destroy sexuality in the real sense, which is in a marriage between a man and a woman. And he's trying to say you can have sex with guys as a guy, you can have sex with kids as a guy,
yeah,
And so there's always a blur, and you should be wary of that. So I do agree
yeah.
with you, is that if there is an anime that has that kind of
Proportions. Yeah.
proportion problem, that could be a
It,
huge issue. But that's not all animes. That's all I'm
all right.
saying.
I'll give you that.
That's
I'll
all
give
I'm
you that.
saying.
I'll give you that. But I will warn people strongly, and I'll say, look at the design. Why is it doing that to you? Why do they have to look like they're freaking 10? Like, why don't
Yeah.
they just look like they're normal? I mean, probably Naruto or whatever has had anime girls that look more realistic, but I don't know of any. Maybe send me some because I don't know of any, and I just kind of threw out the whole thing.
I
That
think
far.
for people who are listening to this and watching this, any anime that you want to watch, if you kind of are interested, Hayao Miyazaki's movies are so good. It was the first animated movie to ever win an Oscar, was Spirited Away, which I know you hate. I know you hate that movie, but
Yeah.
he makes incredibly beautiful works of art. It's all hand drawn, and his characters look appropriate for how they should look, and they're not
Yeah.
over sexualized in his
Okay.
movies. So
I'll
that's a
give it
good
that.
place to start.
Mhm.
And then there's some various animes that are okay to watch as well. And I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Um, I
But
like
as men,
Naruto, but it's kind of like there's some jokes in it, but that's as far as it goes. Really,
no,
there's not
dude,
like.
Little Light Studios. I'm telling you, look that up. They
Okay, I'll look it up.
But I'm saying, as men, as we as young men, let's focus on manly things,
Yeah,
masculine things.
exactly. It's like
I don't.
this is beside the point. At the end of the day, we
Yeah,
should be focusing on getting married, finding a career or a ministry, and then working,
yeah. And
and then
women,
having
don't think
kids.
don't think that you have to look as good as these anime girls. Don't think you have to look like you did when you were young. You look beautiful how you are. God will craft you to be the woman you need to be.
I would say though is that make sure you're healthy. Like make
Yeah,
sure you're eating healthy foods so that you feel better.
right.
It's like beyond scientifically proven that when you eat better, you feel better.
Yeah,
And then also doing resistance workout, which means lifting, resistance workouts, and then cardio
sure,
workouts is extremely valuable for your healthiness. So
sure.
I'm not saying you got to be a super slim model, um,
Yeah.
like the all the models on TV. That actually not anymore. Now they're kind of bigger.
Pushing back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pushing back towards the other
Yeah,
extreme.
I'm just saying you don't need to be super skinny. You don't need to be a stick, but you know, um, be healthy. That's more attractive. Is just being
Love
healthy.
God.
Yeah,
That's
love
attractive
God.
too. That's attractive to any guy,
Yeah.
hopefully. Awesome, man. Well, anything else for us?
I'm trying to see if I have any Bible verses left over that we haven't read. Um, what we can end on is 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, "Whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do all to the glory of God." So if someday you need to rest and you just feel like not thinking, sure, watch a good show. You know, whether that's live action or Disney animation or just Japanese anime. But if you're lazy, you need to get up and
Yeah,
go to work. So that's
yeah,
what I would say.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. That's great. Thanks so much, Dryden.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, I guess thank me
Yeah.
for having you. I'm glad you're on the
Yeah, no,
show.
exactly.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Point Blank. I please urge you to like and subscribe. That really helps me out as I try to grow the online ministry as we approach uh, biblical topics that need to be explained and
Absolutely.
just cultural topics that need to be explained biblically. Please become a patron today. The link is in the bio, and please support me. That would be immensely helpful. But yeah, we'll see you next week with the next episode of
Awesome.
Point Blank. So
See you
see
guys.
ya.